Hello everyone, I'm Provic, your church media solution guy, and you're welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to finally create an aggregate audio device on Windows and use it to create a true pre-fader listen system in Reaper. So let's get right into this video. So firstly, we're going to download this app called VB Matrix. And this app is going to act as a virtual audio hub that enables us combine our audio interfaces together so that we can create an aggregate audio device. So you come down here, download, then you install. The installation is pretty straightforward. No extra settings needed, just pretty straightforward. After installing VB Matrix, ensure that you have the drivers of your audio interfaces that you like to aggregate installed. So for my case, I'm using the Behringer X32. So I've installed the drivers for the XUSB card, which is the audio interface on the Behringer X32. Then I'm also using an Artura Minifuse 1 sound card, and I've installed the drivers as well. So ensure that you have your drivers installed. Now let's go back to VB Matrix. All right, now so we're going to assign our hardware in VB Matrix. So for Windows user, we already know that our devices are primarily ASIO devices, judging from the drivers. So what we'll do is we'll come to this ASIO devices session here. Then we'll select a slot to add our hardware, which is our audio interface. So to add our hardware, we just come here, one of these slots here, control, then click. Then we're going to go to the ASIOs here. Then for me, these are the list of ASIO drivers I have. So first, I'm going to be bringing in my Behringer XUSB drivers, which is this one. This one here is the old drivers. It's the old driver. I'm going to uninstall it in due time. But if you're on Behringer X32, most likely you have this. This is the newer driver. So most likely this is the driver you're going to be selecting. So you come here, you select it. Then as you can see, 32 in, 32 out. These are what's it called? This is our XUSB. So our Behringer X32 has been assigned. Now next up, we have to assign a slot to the sound card I'm using. So my sound card is the Artura Minifuse 1 interface. So I will choose another slot and then control, then right click or left click rather. Then the sound card I'm using is the Minifuse ASIO driver. So yes, now I have that in as well. So my Behringer X32 and my sound card. Now the next thing to do is to select the master device. So for me, my master device is going to be the X32, and for most of you it's going to be the X32 as well, because that's where all your audio and your audio is going to be coming from primarily. Why this guy right here, so the Minifuse sound card, is just going to mainly be for playback or listening purposes. So I'm going to assign this as my master. So I'm going to, I think, control then click. Yeah, so this is the master device now. So next up, we're going to open our routing grid and start routing our signals. All right, so now we're going to open the VB Matrix routing. But before that, we need to ensure that our virtual ASIO, which is our aggregate device, is online. So basically, it's the aggregate device that is the combination of our X32 and my sound card, which is the Minifuse. So we need to bring one of these virtual ASIO on. So we have online. So we have the ASIO 8, 64, 128. So depending on your combination of inputs and outputs. So for my case, I can use the 8 because just from Behringer alone, I have 32, almost 32, no, let's say 24 inputs coming in. So I would just use this 64, and to bring it online, what I would do is I would press Control, then left click, and it comes online. Now next up is to click on the matrix logo here. As you can see, once you hover on the logo, it would show you this prompt: mouse on metric logo, click to open the metric view dialog box. So you just click and it opens the routing page. This is the routing grid on the VB matrix. The input side is the row section, while the output side is the column section. If you don't have it like this on your end, what you can do is come to option, then just check here, and that would make the switch. Now, as you can see on our input side, we have the Behringer X32 1 to 32. We have the mini fuse arterial interface, which is the interface I'm currently using to record this video. As you can see, as I speak, the meter response. So yeah, we have that. We also have the input of our aggregate device. Now from our X32, I currently don't have any, so there are no band members playing, nothing like that. It's just I only have signal coming from there's a mic we use in the media room. So it's basically like a talkback mic, and it also doubles down as an announcement mic. So let me speak through the mic at the moment. Check. All right, yeah, so that's our media mic, and that's the only signal I have currently running through or coming through the X32. I also have it in Reaper. This is our media mic. Check. As you can see, that's the mic. Also have it in Reaper. Now, what we want to do is we want to patch input 16 from the X32 to the output 16 on the aggregate device. So what you do is when you get to that intersection point, press the space bar, or you do Control then left click. So space bar. Now we've sent the signal here to our virtual audio hub. Now when we come to Reaper, my default driver at the moment is the X USB ASIO drivers. But now when I come to preferences to confirm that everything is intact and the patching was done correctly, once I come here, I click on our new aggregate device, I press OK. As you can see, when I speak to the mic, check, there's signal through. So now we have been able to patch the signal coming from the X32 to our aggregate device. Now what you want to do is for the rest of so typically you're going to have to patch all your inputs to your virtual aggregate device. So for me, kick, snare, that's basically how I have it. So I just patch all of this. For the sake of this video, I had to unpatch it so that everybody follows along. So basically you're going to send all your inputs from your X32. If you have 24 input, 25, as the case may be, just look for the intersection point. So this is, let me move this. So this is the intersection point. So once you patch it, you're going to see signal coming through, as long as you have signal coming from the X32. So what you do is once you come to the intersection point, you press your space bar, just like that. So patch as many signals as you need to send to your aggregate device, which would typically be defined by the number of inputs coming from your X32. For the rest of this video, I'm going to be using a multi-track recording in Reaper to show you how to send your final mix or to route your final mix. So now I have this multi-track recording that I use for virtual sound check, and as you can see, so basically it's a multi-track recording, and remember our media mic, which is the only signal coming from the X32, is still active. Then the rest of the signal will come from Reaper. Now remember, in Reaper we've changed our drivers to the VB, so our virtual aggregate device. So now what we have is a combination of the signal coming from Reaper and the signal coming from the X32, which is this medium mic right here. Now, by the time I press play, so let me play back. Let's go back to our routing matrix. So now routing matrix, you have to come to the input side of your virtual aggregate device. As you can see, we have all signals coming through. We have signals coming through, including this channel 16, which is our media mic. Let me stop the playback. You can see we still have signal coming through from channel 16, and that's because we've already patched the signal, right? We remember initially we did from the 16 here, we sent it to the virtual ASIO 16, and what that means is you're going to now see that signal on the input side, right? So basically how you want to set this up is your bass, drum, kick, you have to patch them from your XUSB. You patch them to the corresponding channel on the virtual ASIO output section here. And once you do that, you now have that signal on the input side, as long as you've selected the virtual ASIO drivers in Reaper, right? So now let's go back to Reaper. Now what we want to achieve is we want to send our final mix to our Atira interface, which is the interface we're going to be using to monitor, right? Also, we want to break the limitation of the ASIO ecosystem and send our final mix to either anywhere basically. So either you send it to the mini fuse interface, or you can send it to the headphone port on your Windows system. Now to do that, you have to know where your output is. So the output for my master, which is this guy right here, is 31 and 32. So virtual ASIO 31 and 32. Now what I would have to do now is I will so basically the output from Reaper is the input in the VB matrix, right? So whatever you are putting from Reaper is going to be on this side. So the virtual ASIO input section. Now I know this can be a little bit confusing, but just stay with me. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comment section. Now let's play back. All right, so we also have our output here. Our output bus is 31 and 32. So what we want to do is we'll come to virtual ASIO 31 and 32, right? As you can see, it's our output bus. Then we're going to patch it to our Atira interface. So we're going to send that signal. We're going to send it to the Atira interface. As you can see, this is the Atira interface. And once, usually it's going to be the main, right? So so the first channel should be the left and the second channel should be the right. So what you do is come to the first channel. Once you have the intersection right, you patch it, then you do the patching. Currently this is my Atira interface showing that I have signal my final mix is going into the Atura interface. I will unpatch this and watch what happens. You can see the only signal coming through is my voice. But by the time I patch it back, you can see the final mix is going through to the Atura Minifuse interface. What we also want to do is send our final mix to the X32 as well. So I've chosen 31 and 32 on my X32. So you can send this anywhere. So our final mix from Reaper is 31, 32. So I can choose to send it to 26 and 27 or 28 and 29, like as the case may be. So what you have to do is, for me, I've chosen output 31 and 32. So once I get the intersection point right, space bar, all right, and now let's head over to the X32. All right, so now on the X32, I've selected 2 channels that I want to bring the signal from Reaper into the X32. So for me, I've selected 31 and 32. You can actually use any other channel, any channel of your choice, but for quick recall, I've selected 31 and 32 because the signal coming, the final mix from Reaper is through 31, 32. Now, next up is to go to the routing. For ease of understanding, try and use the user in routing and not the AS50 input routing. So here's what I mean. You come to routing, go to input. So I currently have my user in. So in that way, I have more control over the individual input as opposed to using the AS50 input routing or option. Now, because I'm using the user in option, by the time I tab over to user in, then I can come over to 31 and 32 and select the signal I want to send to this individual channel. So on 31, typically what you want the signal to come in, or the signal is coming in from your card. So you have to select card in, and you have to select, you come to 31. Remember, it's a stereo channel, so it's a stereo signal. 32, you come to card in, then select 32. Now, once I play back in Reaper, you should see that signal. So yes, we have signal coming in from Reaper to the X32. Now I'm going to pause the playback. As you can see, it has stopped. Let's play again. So now we have our final mix going to channel 1 and channel 31 and channel 32. Right now, to send this out, the appropriate setting to use. So if I'm using the aux out, right, I'd advise anybody to use the aux out to send this out of your X32 to maybe the OBS team. So typically you go from the X32 to a sound card or to your switcher, like the A10 mini switcher. What you have to do is go to the aux session. So for me, I've selected output 3 and output 4. Then once you select output 3 and output 4, you want the category to be direct out. That way you can send that direct channel. So for me, 31. Then on the other leg, that is the output aux output 4, I have direct out 32. Now in the tap point, you want to set this to the first option. Otherwise, if you set it to pre-fader, post-fader plus mute, any mute on the signal channel would affect the signal going to your broadcast, and you don't want that. What you want is complete control in Reaper and just send the final signal to the X32, then from the X32 to your sound card, then to OBS, or from your X32 to your switcher. All right, so now to create like a sort of like a listening system that is independent of the master in Reaper. So we want to create like a pre-fader or after fader listening system. by default in Reaper, when you solo something, it also affects the master track. Here's what I mean. So currently this track, by the time I try to solo it, see, it affects what is going our master track, and we don't want our master track is basically what is going online, and we don't want to solo something and that gets soloed in our live stream as well. So to resolve this, what we do is we'll create another hardware output. We'll create another output for our master. So come here, we'll just left click, then we can add new hardware output. So I can select, we used 31 and 32 before. I guess I can select, let's say 29 and 30. All right, now what we want to do is we want to come over, tab over to here and ensure that this is selected. So master or solo if solo bus is active. So what this means is it's going to send the master to that hardware output. Now anytime we solo, it's going to override the master, and we're going to listen to what is being soloed, right? Then we have to come to our master, which is this. Then we want to set this to always master, right? So we want to always set this to always master. Now another thing to do is we have to come to option and go to preferences, then come over to mute/solo, then uncheck this, then check this solo via dedicated solo bus, meaning anytime we solo, it's going to solo on our dedicated solo bus, which is this one right here, which is our our output 28 and 29 and 30. So apply, okay, and yeah. So now what we have to do is we have to come to VB matrix. Remember, for the initial demonstration, we selected our virtual output 31 and 32 to go to, we patched it to our Artura outputs. So our virtual output 31 and 32, which is input in Reaper. So okay, so 31 and 32. So now, which is this here? Now we want to uncheck this. Then what we're using now is 1 per sec. What we're using now is 29 and 30. So 29 and 30, which is this right here. Then we're going to patch it to 29 left 30, right? That's it. So now once we play, you'd see that in VB matrix we have signal. So we have 30, 31 going to our X32. We now have our solo bus, which is going to our sound card that we're using to monitor. Now we have to come back to Reaper. Now let me show you what it looks like on my sound card. All right, so currently this is my sound card. Now I have my some channels soloed, and you can see there's not so much going on the left and right channel here. All right, so let me unsolo. Can you see I have the full track, the full master track going there, and this does not affect our live stream, which is going back to our X32. Once I solo, I can listen to that channel, increase the volume from here. I can mess with it, increase the fader, reduce the fader, EQ. I can add effects, you get, and it doesn't affect our live stream. So basically, That's how you set up a solo bus that is independent. That's how you set up a solo bus for monitoring that is independent of what is going on in your broadcast. Another extra tip is to ensure that your buffer size and your sample rate matches. So when we come to VB matrix, we can see that the sample of our X32, the sample rate is 48,000 hertz. Our buffer size is 512. Upon research, a lot of sources suggested that we make both of them match, but I'm yet to see how relevant this is. But you can experiment in your own end if you're having issues like maybe clicks, pops momentarily, or maybe something is just doesn't feel right. Maybe something is out of sync. So what I've done is I've also made my Artura mini fuse the same sample rate and buffer size as the X32. And to do this on my sound card, I had to come to the software, which is mini fuse. I had to come to the software, which is mini fuse. Right? Then I had to come to mini fuse. It's loading up. Then adjust the settings from the app. So whatever sound card you use, I'm sure you'll be able to do the same. So you can see here the ASIO. Then this was where I was able to adjust, the sample rate and the buffer size setting. Another thing we can do is we can also send our final mix to the headphone jack on our PC. All we have to do is come to this section here, Windows devices, come to win1.out, which represents the output, then control, you double click, then choose the first device here, the first option here, then tap down to speakers, which is my case is I'm using the Realtek drivers, which will be the case for most Windows user. So you select speakers, then we'll go to our routing matrix, then 31, 32, we have to look for where, as you can see, we now have the speaker option. So all we just have to do is we can patch both our solo bus and our final master track. So thank you. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. I know this is a little bit tricky, but if you don't get it if you don't understand the whole concept, try to rewatch the video. And the more you rewatch it, I myself had to do this multiple times before I fully understood how VB matrix works. So thank you. I'll see you in the next video.